Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into something pretty incredible, a kind of prophetic puzzle that stretches across centuries of ancient writings. So let's just jump right into the big question, right? How is it possible that a bunch of different writings from all these different authors over hundreds and hundreds of years could all be pointing to just one person? I mean, think about that. It's a huge claim, and it's really the central mystery of the whole biblical story.
And what's wild is where this idea even comes from. It's not from later interpreters, it's actually from Jesus himself. In the Gospel of Luke, he basically says, all those ancient scriptures, from Moses all the way through the prophets?
Yeah, they're about me.
Now, obviously, that's a massive claim, and it's what we're going to dig into today. It totally sets the stage for everything else.
All right, so let's get into it. We're going to look at three key prophetic roles, and the first piece of this puzzle is all about the identity of a promised son.
Okay, look at this. This is where it gets really cool. You can literally trace this one idea through centuries of text. On the left, you've got these ancient promises from the Psalms and Isaiah about a coming son. Then, bam, you jump forward all that time to the Gospels, and you see it fulfilled. You hear it at Jesus' baptism and in his own words. And then it all culminates in the book of Revelation, where he's called the firstborn of the dead. It's like one continuous story.
So what's the big takeaway here? The point is, the prophecy wasn't just about some wise teacher or a messenger. No, it was specifically about a son. And the narrative shows Jesus stepping right into that role, claiming that divine identity, which, as we see, is ultimately revealed as this eternal, victorious thing.
All right, so we've got the son. Now let's add the next piece to our puzzle. And honestly, this is where things get, kind of weird. Because this next role seems like the total opposite of a powerful divine son. We're talking about the sacrificial lamb.
And just like before, you can see this thread woven all the way through. It goes way back to Abraham, who says God himself will provide the lamb. Then you've got Isaiah with that haunting image of someone being led like a lamb to the slaughter. And of course, that connects right up to John the Baptist pointing at Jesus and saying, "Behold, the Lamb of God." And the final image? A lamb as it had been slain right at the center of heaven in Revelation. It's an unbelievable through line.
So think about what this means. The Son's whole mission wasn't to avoid suffering, it was to walk right into it, to become the sacrifice. It's this wild idea that the cross, the symbol of weakness and death, is actually the source of all power and salvation. The power isn't in spite of the sacrifice, it's because of it.
Okay, on to the final piece of the puzzle. And this one really brings it all together by smashing two more ideas that, on the surface, just don't seem to fit. The suffering servant and the all-powerful king. So, first you've got the servant. Isaiah talks all about this figure who suffers on behalf of others, wounded for our transgressions. And then in the Gospels, Jesus basically says, yeah, that's me. He talks about giving his life as a ransom, and he even quotes that exact chapter from Isaiah to explain what's about to happen to him. It's incredibly direct. But at the exact same time, those same scriptures are promising a king, a powerful ruler. And we see Jesus stepping into that role too. When he rides into Jerusalem, when he's talking to Pilate, he doesn't deny being a king. And then, just like the other roles, it hits this crescendo in Revelation with that ultimate title, King of Kings and Lord of Lords. And this is the mind-blowing part. He doesn't pick one or the other. He doesn't say, no, I'm a servant, not a king. He takes both. He completely redefines what it means to be a king by fusing it with the identity of the suffering servant. It's this radical idea that real victory, real authority, comes directly through suffering and sacrifice. Okay, let's step back for a second. We've got a divine son, a sacrificial lamb, and a servant who is also a king. These seem like totally separate, even contradictory characters. So how on earth do you put all these puzzle pieces together into one single picture?
Well, to really grasp this, you have to look at the timeline. It's just immense. We're talking about prophecies from Isaiah and Micah being written down centuries, literally centuries, before the life of Jesus.
Yeah, look at that number. 400 to 700 years. That is a massive gap in time. Seriously, that would be like someone in the 1400s, before Columbus sailed, writing a detailed description of the iPhone. For a single, consistent idea to survive that long across so many different writers, it's just staggering to think about.
So the idea here is that these weren't just random, disconnected predictions. It's more like finding 4 completely different-looking puzzle pieces and discovering that they were always designed to lock together perfectly to create one single, coherent image of one person.
And that brings us right back to where we started, with Jesus' own claim. He was essentially saying, you're reading it all wrong if you think it's just a library of separate books. It's one story, it's one testimony, and it's pointing to me.
So here's the bottom line. These roles, son, lamb, servant, king, they aren't separate job descriptions. They're like 4 acts in a single grand play. The Old Testament announces the main character. The Gospels put him on stage. The cross is the climax of his mission. And the resurrection, well, that's the glorious finale.
So I want to leave you with this question. If this whole picture is coherent, if it really does all fit together, what does it tell us? If the highest form of power looks like sacrifice, and if the ultimate king is also the ultimate servant, what does that say about our own ideas of strength, of leadership, and maybe even the whole purpose of our lives?